is claiming that President Duterte was missing in action at the height of Typhoon Ulysses. On Tuesday, the chief executive blamed Robredo over the hashtag Nasaan ang Pangulo that became a trend on social media.
The president was fed with wrong information. Sa akin, never na hinanas siya during the crisis. At kahit balikan yung lahat kong sinabi, lahat kong sinulat, wala siyang makikita naghahanap ako sa kanila.
Following Duterte's speech, Robredo clarified that she just forwarded the distress calls her office received to military officials. Robredo's camp also belied the claims of Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Sal Panelo that she boarded the government-owned C-130 when she went to Catanduanes to distribute relief supplies. Panelo was quoting Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, who clarified on Wednesday that Robredo did not use any military aircraft. Lorenzana shared with the media a cargo manifest of the UE helicopter, which shows that it brought relief goods from Robredo's hometown, Legazpi, to Catanduanes last November 3. The defense official has since apologized to the vice president. The idea of Robredo giving orders to military services apparently did not sit well with the president.
Yung sinasabing ino-orderan ko yung mga military, mali din yun. Tayo lahat na distress calls na natatanggap natin ay pinakasa natin to whoever was on the ground. And yung AFP was part of that.
Robredo then described Duterte as unpresidential over his baseless warnings for the upcoming elections.
Karapatan niya naman sabihin kung ano yung dapat niya sabihin, pero siguraduhin niya lang na tama yung pinagbabasehan. And in this case, mali siya.
According to Duterte, he will ruin Robredo's chances of taking his place should she launch a presidential bid in 2022.
When you start your campaign kung magtakbo ka ng presidente, waswasan kita ng husto. Oh, this is your nightmare.
Aside from false claims and threats, Duterte also made vague and misogynist remarks about the vice president. Duterte, who was visibly angry, spent nearly 20 minutes of his weekly address to rant against Robredo. Some lawmakers come to the defense of the vice president. ACT Teachers Representative Franz Castro called out Duterte for being insecure to Robredo, who was giving her best to help typhoon victims. Senator Franklin Drilon said key officials should unite, as every action counts, including that of the vice president. For her part, Senator Nancy Binay urged those who want to help to just do it off-cam and without any propaganda. The president's address became a trending topic on social media. The Presidential Communications Operations Office claimed that it was hashtag Nasa Puso Ko ang Pangulo that became a #1 trending topic. But Trends Tracker Trends24.in showed that it never took the top spot, which was instead occupied by hashtag Duterte meltdown and later on, hashtag Nasiraan ang Pangulo. For News 5, Maricel Halili, we are One News.
Meanwhile, the president has approved the NDRRMC's recommendation to place the entire Luzon under a state of calamity. What does this entail? Let's find out in this report by Shaila Francisco.
With the state of calamity now declared over the entire island of Luzon, a price freeze on basic commodities will be enforced for 60 days. Traders and retailers violating the price freeze may be fined and jailed under the Price Act. The Agriculture Department has implemented price freeze on basic agriculture products. Suggested retail prices they have previously set will stand. These include fish, chicken, pork, sugar, onion, garlic, rice, and cooking oil. But based on the DA's monitoring on Wednesday morning, 10 of the biggest markets in Metro Manila have violated the prices of onion, fish, and pork. The DA admits that price increases can't be avoided, especially as the recent typhoons hampered supply. To date, damage in agriculture due to typhoons Pepito, Quinta, Rolly, and Ulysses amounted to more than 11 billion pesos.
Santa Cruzan ng apat na bagyo, talagang apektado yung mga production. Naintindihan po natin yon. Nasa kasi supplies mo yon. So kunting paggalaw, naintindihan. Pero kung sobra naman, doon namin talagang i-fighting.
Meanwhile, construction materials, which are in demand after houses were damaged due to typhoons, are not covered by the price freeze. While these aren't regulated, the DTI warns retailers that a price hike of more than 10% may be penalized under the Price Act.
Even the consumer Consumer Act would say na yung taking advantage of the general situation would be a violation also.
For now, prices of construction materials remain stable in hardware stores in Metro Manila. The DTI has also met with suppliers and importers of construction materials who committed to stable supply and no price increases. Other than a price freeze, the declaration of a state of calamity gives local governments easier access to their quick response funds. Affected residents can also avail of calamity loans from the government through SSS, GSIS, or Pag-ibig, as well as other lending institutions. Shaila Francisco, we are One News.
President Duterte has ordered the creation of a new seat of power in Tarlac in cases of disaster or emergencies in the capital region. The latest executive order says a national government administrative center in New Clark City will serve as substitute hub for government offices. It has directed all agencies under the executive branch to establish satellite offices in Capas. The legislative and judiciary were encouraged to do the same. President Duterte is also set to sign an EO creating a typhoon task force that will streamline rehabilitation efforts for typhoon-affected areas. Presidential spokesman Harry Roque said the Build Back Better task force will be co-chaired by Environment Secretary Roy Cimatu and Public Works Secretary Mark Villar. The task force will regularly report to the President through the Executive Secretary. Roque says a draft of the EO has already been submitted. It's up for the President's consideration. Around 52 million pesos worth of relief assistance has been extended to victims of Typhoon Ulysses in various regions. Those relief packs contained food and non-food items. During the Laging Handa briefing, Social Welfare Secretary Rolando Bautista said that air and naval assets helped in the distribution in regions 1, 2, 3, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, the Bicol region, Cordillera, and NCR. He said the DSWD also provides psychosocial support for victims of the calamity.
Nagbibigay ang DSWD ng psychosocial interventions or stress debriefing sa mga naapektuhang mga biktima ng bagyo upang matulungan sila na makakope sa nararanasan nilang stress o trauma mula sa epekto ng kalamidad.
In the same briefing, National Irrigation Administration Chief Ricardo Visaya said NIA is reviewing water release protocols for dams. This comes after Magat Dam management was widely blamed for the flooding in Cagayan. Visaya said existing protocols require dams to release water 2 to 3 days before a typhoon makes landfall. The NIA administrator says the Magat Dam is now below spilling level. It's close to 192 meters.
Masakit man yung nangyari sa atin, but this gave us a chance na i-review ang ating protocol.
We'll go for a quick break. When the big story returns, does the President have power to defund the University of the Philippines? One lawmaker says no. And a major shakeup has happened in Congress yet again. Allies of Speaker Lord Alan Velasco take over key posts. The details later. Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay. Calls for an academic freeze resurface in the aftermath of multiple typhoons in the country, but a DepEd official believes this is not necessary with guidelines in place. Ria Fernandez explains.
This was the scene in front of the Ateneo de Manila University on Tuesday. Students and youth groups called for an academic break. They also protested against the government's supposed botched disaster response. But an education official said such move may not be necessary. Speaking to 1PH sa totoo lang, DepEd Undersecretary Diosdado San Antonio said there are existing guidelines for classes in the aftermath of calamities.
Ang mga existing guidelines natin, iba lang yung tawag, pero may suspension of classes naman automatic sa mga may typhoon signal. Pag hindi naman talaga posibleng magbigay ng lesson, hindi naman natin ginagawa.
San Antonio also defended the agency against criticisms on how it dealt with demands from learners and teachers during the pandemic. He insisted that the blended learning setup was necessary to prevent the spread of COVID-19. A private law school dean echoed the government's position regarding the appeal for an academic break.
Ang pag-aaral ay hindi dapat binabaliwala. Parating na doon. Protesting and education can go together. They are not mutually exclusive.
President Rodrigo Duterte himself did not take well the recent student strike in Ateneo. He slammed the students who participated in the move but singled out those from the University of the Philippines. Duterte went as far as accusing UP of being a hub for communist recruitment. He threatened to defund the premier state university.
Yung eskwela, UP, fine. Pag hinto kayo ng aral, I will stop the funding. Nandyan nyo lang, wala nang ginawa itong kundi mag-recruit ng mga komunista dyan. Tapos nag-aaral kayo, ang gusto ninyong binabira ang gobyerno. Masyado naman nakaswerte kayo.
In a statement, UP Vice President for Public Affairs Elena Perña highlighted the institution's mission and denied its alleged links to communists. Lawmakers from both houses of Congress stressed that state universities and colleges are considered no-cut zones. Senate Pro Tempore Ralph Recto said that the best response to calls for an academic freeze is boosting funding for education. ACT Teachers Representative Franz Castro said the president has no business deciding the fate of UP since it is Congress that deliberates on the budget for SUCs. For News 5, Ria Fernandez, we are One News.
Lawmakers want to extend until next year the validity of Bayanihan 2, which expires this December. The Budget Department has only released about 88 billion pesos out of the 140 billion peso pandemic fund. Senate President Tempore Ralph Recto said several agencies have yet to fully utilize the allocations. The Trade Department, for instance, has only released 1 billion pesos out of its 10 billion peso assistance to micro, small, and medium enterprises.
Considering the fact that government already has borrowed essentially all the cash needed to fund the 2020 and to fund the Bayanihan 2. So sayang naman, money is available.
The revamp in the House leadership continues as lawmakers oust 3 deputy speakers allied with former Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano. These are Representatives Fredenil Castro, Raneo Abu, and Dan Fernandez. They will be replaced by Representatives Rufus Rodriguez, Camille Villar, and Lito Atienza. The House plenary also elected Pampanga Representative Mikey Arroyo to chair the Energy Committee, previously held by Speaker Lord Alan Velasco. Kabayan Party List Representative Ron Salo, a Cayetano appointee, was replaced by Caloocan City Representative Dave Malapitan as head of the House contingent to Congress Electoral Tribunal. Meanwhile, ACT-CIS Party List Representative Eric Yap was named as the new vice chairperson of the House Accounts Committee. And these are the other big stories today. A congressional probe on the massive flooding in northern Luzon begins next week, November 24. The House Committee on Agriculture and Food will look into dam protocols on water release as well as rehabilitation. Committee Chairperson Wilfredo Mark Enverga said that they have invited NIA officials and local officials from Cagayan and Isabela. Senators Risa Ontiveros, Francis Pangilinan filed for a parallel probe in the upper chamber. Riders of food delivery service Food Panda held a noise barrage from Pasay to the Labor Department's office in Intramuros. The delivery riders said they are receiving less in their payments per delivery due to Food Panda's alleged unfair grading system. In a statement, Food Panda Philippines said that it communicated the new payment structure to their riders before its implementation. The new scheme compensates drivers based on distance. Food Panda assured its rider partners that they are looking into their concerns. Lawyers of Vice President Leni Robredo are urging the Presidential Electoral Tribunal to investigate a possible collusion between Solicitor General Jose Calida and former Senator Bongbong Marcos. Robredo's camp said motions to inhibit Associate Justice Marvic Leonen from the poll protest proceedings are eerily similar. In the 31-page urgent omnibus motion obtained by Philstar, Robredo's legal team also asked the Supreme Court to look into the involvement of 19 other Assistant Solicitor Generals and Manila Times reporter Jomar Canlas in the supposedly possible collusion. COVID-19 is not the only disease that Ulysses-affected residents are concerned about. In Cagayan, health officials are bracing for a rise in flood-related illnesses. To give us more details, we have with us Marlene Alcaide reporting live from Tuguegarao.
Yes, Robbie, some of the barangays here in Tuguegarao, Cagayan are appealing for additional supply of medicines because affected residents are now suffering from skin infections and other illnesses. Noel Atanod in one of the barangays of Cagayan is having difficulty walking due to alipunga or athlete's foot. He was just one of the officials who were soaked in flood water for days to rescue trapped residents.
Alipunga ma'am, yung nagayon sa kababad ng tubig. 3 araw na tapos yun Makati tsaka masukot Mapdi.
That's why aside from relief goods, Barangay Captain Rico Bacay is also appealing for additional medicines.
Kulang na kulang po kami sa gamot dito sa aming barangay. Gamot para sa bata, ganun para sa gamot sa alipunga, gamot sa bukol, parang ganun ma'am. Mga ubo, sipon, trangkaso.
The Provincial Health Office said a spike in cases of skin diseases as well as cough and flu is expected. With this, the office has already packed its supplies of medicine to be distributed to towns and cities across the province.
Pag health ang pinag-uusapan, dito na lumalabas yung mga sakit because it has been more than 3 days. Although itong mga sakit na ito, usually viral muna ang mauna. So be it gastroenteritis or acute respiratory infection, yung mga ubo-ubo, yung mga sipon-sipon, yung pagtatae, na viral in nature. Pero yung bacterial later on, which includes leptospirosis, ganon, medyo susunod din yon, and including dengue. Kasama na rin yan kasi dadami ang lamok with flooding.
Ay, okay lang. Sa paa mo? Ayos lang. Ano lang yan? Po? Na may alipong nga po ba yan? Wala po, wala.
Barangay health officers went house to house earlier today to distribute medicine supplies to residents. Robbie, since January, the Provincial Health Office of Cagayan has already recorded 41 cases of leptospirosis. Health officials are now gearing up as the number is expected to rise in the coming days. Cagayan Governor Manuel Mamba, meanwhile, admits that they have yet to spend their calamity fund. As of today, Cagayan has recorded 13 deaths due to the typhoon. Robbie?
Maraming salamat, Marlene Alcaide, reporting live from Cagayan. Now let's pause for a quick break. When we come back, Maynila customers braced for water interruptions as waist-deep sludge fill the concessionaire's treatment plants. And the original frenemies are taking their never-ending chase to the big screen. Tom and Jerry are back for a New York adventure. Wait, next. Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay. Now, this just in. Pfizer says that final results from the late-stage trial of its vaccine show that their candidate is 95% effective. The company says they have 2 months' worth of safety data and that they will now apply for emergency U.S. authorization in the coming days. Now, back here, the Health Department is seeking the same authority for the FDA to immediately procure vaccines. Greg Gregorio with the details.
2 U.S. vaccines already have a head start in their late-stage clinical trials. Moderna's candidate has a 94.5% efficacy rate, while Pfizer's is at 90%. While no vaccine has finished phase 3 clinical trials yet, the Health Department is not taking chances. As early as now, they're asking the President to authorize the Food and Drug Administration to issue an Emergency Use Authorization or EUA for upcoming COVID-19 shots. This will allow for the immediate rollout of mass inoculation as soon as the vaccines are ready.
We are respectfully requesting that you consider the issuance of an executive order for FDA to grant an emergency use authorization for the various vaccines that will enter the country and for which applications are to be filed. Para mabilis po ito, it will cut the processing time from 6 months to about 21 days, Mr. President. So it will cut the red tape.
DOH spokesperson Maria Rosario Vergere pointed out that Republic Act 9711 or the Food and Drug Administration Act of 2009 does not mandate the FDA to issue an EUA.
So ito kailangan ng FDA, no, because this product or technology or vaccine is still under development, kumbaga, dahil nasa phase 3 pa lang o tapos lang ang phase 3, may phase 4 pa. So kailangan niya ng authority para makapag-issue ng emergency use authority.
Moderna, Pfizer, and BioNTech plan to apply for EUA in the United States as soon as possible. But one major hurdle that must be addressed: storage facilities for the vaccines. Moderna's experimental vaccine must be stored and transported at -20 degrees Celsius and Pfizer's at -70. Hot climate countries like the Philippines might have logistical issues, and improper handling might inactivate the vaccines. But the DOH vowed to meet the requirements in accordance with the government's COVID-19 vaccine roadmap.
Naghahanda na po ang Pilipinas. Katulad ng sabi namin nung isang linggo, si Secretary Galvez was already able to talk to the private sector para po dito sa kung sakali, no, these ultra low freezers na pangangailangan natin.
Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez said they are striving to procure millions of doses next year.
We can be assured yung 30 million doses to 50 million doses by next year po, sir. Pagka nag-roll out po ang ibang bansa, we can also have our rollout.
Galvez said there are enough funds for the vaccines coming from the pre-existing vaccine budget as well as upcoming tripartite agreements and loans. For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
Around 70% or 1 million Maynilad customers will experience daily water interruptions until November 24 to make way for the desludging of the La Mesa treatment plants. Maynilad says that waste defludge currently fills the basins at the treatment plants following the onslaught of Typhoon Ulysses. The water concessionaire needs to clean up the basins to restore the normal volume of water it produces. For now, water tankers have been mobilized to assist affected customers. Maynilad says they will try to finish cleaning the treatment plants ahead of schedule.
Pag nag-aanunsyo kami, syempre yung worst case condition naman yung inaanunsyo namin, gagawin po ng Maynilad lahat ng mga dapat niyang gawin para po mas mapaikli pa namin ito. Round the clock naman po yung pagtatrabaho na gagawin ng aming mga kawani para po mas mapabilis yung paglilinis ng mga sedimentation basins na yun. Hopefully, mapaikli namin yung duration na yun. Pero yun na po yung pinakamahaba.
Signal TV and Radius Telecoms, a Meralco subsidiary, have partnered to form a fiber broadband and pay TV service called Red Broadband. Red Broadband will offer unlimited fiber internet and pay TV for as low as 1,299 pesos per month. Radius Telecoms delivers end-to-end fiber optic platforms, while Signal TV is a direct-to-home satellite provider that transmits 120 channels. With 37 days before Christmas, Rise Against Hunger Philippines has launched Brand Aid, which aims to provide Noche Buena kits to 100,000 poor families. The NGO partnered with Lazada, food companies, and the government's Task Force Zero Hunger for the program. The Noche Buena kits are available on Lazada for as low as 300 pesos. The program will run from November 22 to December 8. In sports, the TNT Tropang Giga outlast the Phoenix Super LPG Fuel Masters in the PBA Cup semi-finals opener 95-92. TNT star Jason Castro, who is dealing with a calf injury, led the team nonetheless with 20 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals. Phoenix was able to keep the game close with RJ Jasul's 20-point effort, though it had to bench sharpshooter Matthew Wright in the first quarter after he sprained his ankle. Game 2 of the best of 5 is on Friday. For now, Barangay Ginebra San Miguel is facing the Meralco Bolts. Outgoing U.S. President Donald Trump has yet to throw in the towel in the presidential race. He has fired a top cybersecurity official over supposedly highly inaccurate statements. In a tweet on Tuesday, Trump announced the effective termination of Christopher Krebs as Director of Homeland Security Cybersecurity Segment. Trump cited a number of unsubstantiated poll-related claims which Twitter flagged as disputed. Krebs earned Trump's ire after he defended the integrity of the elections. Trump has made claims of widespread voter fraud as early as the campaign period, as he opposed the count for mail-in ballots that came in late. President-elect Joe Biden is so far seen to secure a landslide win of 306 electoral votes in this year's U.S. elections after he got the support of major swing states. Cartoon mortal enemies Tom and Jerry will be back on the big screen next year. The iconic cat and mouse will star in a hybrid live-action and animated movie alongside Chloe Grace Moretz, Michael Peña, Ken Jeong, and Colin Jost. Tom and Jerry bring their decades-old rivalry to a hotel in New York City, where a big wedding is about to happen. As usual, cartoon violence ensues as Tom tries to catch Jerry, only to fail again and again. But will the cat finally catch the mouse? We'll find out on March 5, 2021.
Oh wow, this is so detailed.
And that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250. Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. I'm Robbie Alampay, and we are One News. Good evening.